our slow season is summer. So last minute, packed up my car, lined up some farmers markets in Illinois, and took off. Drove up to Illinois. The plan was to work at, multiple farmers markets. I had seven lined up. I had a commercial kitchen lined up. Everything planned perfectly. Even the storage unit. So I got up there, hit the ground running, and the plan was to run the business and then rent a room and, just keep growing, save money, come back for our season here in October. But things didn't go as planned. So I never made enough. The markets weren't as busy, I think because of election year and the economy. So I couldn't afford a room. So I ended up living out of my 2006 Prius for 4 months. And I would shower at an Anytime Fitness that was local. I would run the business from, the storage unit, the commercial kitchen, my car. And yeah, it was a challenging time for sure. But I learned a lot, learned a lot. I systemized everything. I learned to enjoy the little things. And it actually was a special time. I learned how to step out of survival mode, even though I was in survival mode in a sense. And then, of course, after that chapter, I'm in a new chapter now, but a lot of lessons to be said within all of that.
As an entrepreneur myself, there is so many things that we have to navigate. And I always say, like, you want personal development, start a business.
Yes, 100%.
Because it's a fast track to learning about yourself. So talk to us about that period where you were living out of your car, having to, make money to survive. How challenging was that? How taxing was that on you, on your mindset, on your relationships?
Absolutely. So it was the one of the most challenging times because I didn't have, home base to relax. And then on top of that, I was so busy, I had to prepare for seven markets a week. And so, I'd have two in one day sometimes. And some of them were an hour away. So it'd be an hour drive, hour back. So between going to like Restaurant Depot to get the ingredients, the commercial kitchen to cook and prep and clean, and then storage units, prep for the next day. I'm sorry, sorry about that. So between doing all of that, I um I was barely sleeping 4 hours a night, 5 hours a night, having some relationship challenges as well, because she was back here in Florida, I was up in Illinois. But it was so challenging me because I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop, but yet at the same time, I didn't have the essentials, so I had to really learn to systemize and be organized and be efficient and at the same time make the best of everything to not go crazy. So I had a little bed I'd roll up. I was so organized. I had like a little closet area in my car. I had a little dirty laundry area, a little bin I'd put my dirty laundry in and do laundry once a week. I had my windows blacked out so I could be in a parking lot and no one knew that I was sleeping inside the car. I had literally a solution for everything. So in the morning, I'd roll up my little bed, either put it in the storage unit or in my trunk, so it didn't look like I was, homeless. And I'd park in a anytime fitness parking lot, or across the street was a 24-hour grocery store, which was a blessing. So anything I needed, I had access all the time, and it was safer. So I had all the little check boxes checked for what I needed in that situation. So it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad. It was sustainable. So 4 months, it wasn't that bad. I got good sleep. I was able to run the business. If I wanted to cook, I would go to the commercial kitchen and then make dinner. The owner was a blessing. She was so nice. But anyways, the reason why I was able to run the business while being homeless was because of being systemized and organized, and then mentally always just being grateful and enjoying the little things. So I knew that that stage was temporary. So I didn't let myself get down on myself. Initially, I was like, damn, 36 years old or 35 at the time, you know, why at my age, I didn't feel like I should be in that situation. But then not learning to not judge myself or compare myself to others because everyone has their own path. Mine is an entrepreneurial path, which following my heart was taking me down that rough path. And I knew it was going to be a story one day. So I saw the bigger picture, in other words, and was able to kind of laugh about it and just be myself and just enjoy the little things and the relationships, like getting coffee in the morning from Starbucks, that relationship, just enjoying people, places, moments, and just making the best of it for
I think
sure.
you definitely raise a good point, right? Like sometimes we end up in survival mode. We are navigating, right? Like we're literally trying to survive here. But what is important is our mindset. And I think oftentimes people get caught up in the darkness of their circumstances that they don't actually see the light that's present. And it sounds crazy, right? Like I can relate. I was actually homeless for 2 years.
Oh,
And
wow.
being faced with homelessness, it was like, what do I do? My family and I received an eviction notice like right after they lifted eviction pause for COVID. So it was like they lifted the eviction pause. Everybody who was looking to get their property back, so like I want my property back, and it was a
Wow.
housing crisis. So it was like, well, what do we do? What I ended up doing and suggesting to my husband at the time was, let's just go traveling. Like, let's go to Spain. We're in Europe. Let's go to Spain. And what was meant to be a 3-month trip end up being 2 years,
Ah,
right? Like
smart though.
it was. And for anyone that doesn't know, slow travel through Europe is pretty cheap. Like
True.
at the time, which was not too long ago, we were staying in places like I Airbnb it the whole time. But if you're staying in places for 3 months at a time instead of 3 or 4 days, you get significant discounts, right? So actually traveling was significantly cheaper than being housed in England.
Ah, that's smart.
But it came down to the mindset, right? Like I could have become a victim of my circumstance. Similar to you, you could have become a victim of your circumstance, packed up, went back to Florida, like I don't have enough money. But your mindset sounds very positive, and you were able to navigate the circumstances that you were in, although you were surviving, and find a way to thrive.
Absolutely. And ultimately, and that's really cool that you can relate, but life is too short and everyone has their own path. And I really do feel like we're all inherently designed for our own path.
Mhm.
And so it's whatever challenges we encounter, as long as we're making the best possible choices that we can make, I feel like it's just a part of the journey and it just makes us into who we are. And we just have to enjoy every day. And so I learned to just, yeah, just be happy all the time, regardless of external circumstances, because you can choose, like the book by Viktor Frankl. Have you, As a Man Thinketh?
Mhm.
Have you read that book?
I have.
Yes,
It's
and it's
so
so true.
powerful. It's so powerful. You hear things like I remember someone saying to me, your emotions are a choice, and this is like when I'm like in the pit of anger. What you mean? Like I didn't choose to be this angry, right? But there is so much, we have so much more control over our lives, and it starts with the way that we think. And I think one of the things that was very instrumental in my growth and my personal development was understanding how my brain, how my thinking impacts my entire life. A simple thought that I may just pass over has a profound impact on how I show up in the world, how I view the world, and how I function, right?
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
Not having that understanding of how our thoughts impact our emotions and our emotions impact our ability to take action, I was very much a victim of circumstance and a victim of the way that I thought, and being able to shift that made a huge difference in my life.
That's amazing. And it's a beautiful story because so many people need to learn, from you and others with a similar mindset where, yeah, your circumstances don't define you. They're just circumstances. It's temporary. And so there's no reason to be hard on yourself because as long as you're trying your best and making the best possible choices, there's no reason to feel down or feel sad or feel depressed. It's just temporary. It's going to be a story. There's going to be lessons. Yeah, there's always good in everything.
And it does sound very cliche when we say this, particularly to people who may be listening and be like, listen, my circumstances are hella crazy right now. Where can I find happiness in this? Where can I find the silver lining? But it does come down to a choice.
That's true. And also, it also comes down to, not the destination, but the journey. So not, waiting to the destination, oh, when I make money, when I do this, when I do that, but just learning to enjoy the journey. Because for years I was always future focused in survival mode, like rushing here to work. I had like a couple jobs and a business venture, sleeping 5 hours, trying to be strategic with spending, financially behind. Or for example, when I got back, I was worse off financially than I've ever been my entire life. I owed, $1,000 in tolls from driving around up north and, scraping by financially. The IRS for like, the business stuff, the commercial kitchen, the first one that I was at, I couldn't afford, so I went to a second one. So I owed everybody money. And at my age, according to society, I should be more established. So I had everything against me. But I just realized, it is what it is. Like I'm healthy, I'm happy, good relationships, good friends, my family's healthy. Got to make the best of it. And then little by little, everything got better. So, point of the story is to just not get down on yourself. As long as you're making the best choices that you can and learning from mistakes when you don't make the best choice, it is what it is. That's life.
It is what it is. I like that. Now, when you were initially telling your story, you were talking about like these versions of success, right? And how we kind of got caught up in the what I call the conveyor belt, right? We're told to get a good education, then get a really good job, then you spend time working your way up the ladder in that job, and yeah, you do that for 40 years and then you retire and then now you have the permission to live your life. And for 60% of people, that conveyor belt works, but it doesn't work for everybody, which is why we have so many entrepreneurs who are like, to how with this conveyor belt that I've been sold, I want something different. What was it about settling into a job that I don't want to say was a hassle for you, but it obviously didn't sit well with who you were, which is why you ended up being an entrepreneur.
Oh yeah, it honestly just never felt right. Even from when I was younger, I worked at a grocery store, retirement home, restaurants. Then I worked my way up in the hospitality industry. So eventually, I was working for Ritz-Carlton, St. Regis, expensive restaurants in Miami, and so worked my way up in that industry. And it was a great industry, but it just and I'm grateful for that chapter, but it never felt 100% right. And so, in every year and a half, I would change for more experience, to learn more, to meet new people. So I never had a job more than like a couple of years, aside from in the fitness industry. But yeah, worked everywhere and I enjoyed it and I was grateful for it, but it never felt right. And so then when I chose to look within and really spend time reflecting and digging deep, and really thinking about who I was inherently, my purpose, all of that, values, what a perfect day was in my life, all the self-discovery things. I started realizing I had to create. To be happy, I had to create. So everyone has their own path. It's our responsibility to dig deep and reach that level of self-discovery, self-awareness, to be true to ourselves and not just go down a path someone wants us to go down. So, with that being said, that's also when I started realizing that I couldn't compare myself to others because I have so many successful friends, attorney or, business owner in a particular industry or, realtor or